Welcome, everybody. This is Solution from the Multiverse.
Welcome, welcome.
This is the podcast where we, how would you describe it?
We fire solutions out into the universe and wait for all the awesome things to come back from them.
Solutions into the universe.
I'm Scott Maupin.
I'm Adam Braus.
And we're here every week bringing you new stuff.
It's free. I always want to drive that home.
You can't record that. Then I can't suddenly charge people
this is free.
Thousands of dollars per podcast episode.
I can't believe it. It's free, but we're doing it for free. It's great. We're just giving this stuff away.
Happy to do it, yeah.
So the solution today, we're back to saving democracy.
It's a worthwhile cause.
Okay,
yeah.
and this idea has a little bit of a story to it too. Okay, but we'll start off just with the idea. A website to track political endorsements.
Okay. I'm trying to take in everything that means and visualize it. So a website to track political endorsements, meaning like money endorsements or celebrity endorsements or organization endorsements. What are you talking about?
I guess I hadn't thought about the money. That would be like kind of like an opensecrets.com kind of thing, right? That's like a website where you can see who gave money to what.
Yeah, like donors.
But I think this is more like the last two you said, the organizations and celebrities. And maybe like if you, I don't know, your cousin who you think is great in terms of what they believe politically. And then they could publish their endorsements. And you could be like, oh, that's what my cousin Steve thinks. Also, your cousin Steve, you could go the opposite of what your cousin Steve said too if you didn't like.
Well,
if you didn't like his politics, you could go the opposite way.
Yeah, instead of sending someone a Spotify playlist, you give them your endorsement, your whatever.com endorsement list.
Right. And the same thing. I mean, originally the way I thought of it was, this is the way I vote. I mean, I don't know how you vote, but I find it really hard to research.
I vote correctly, usually.
Okay, good.
No, but I know what you're talking about. Like I'll follow different guidelines from different groups who are saying, these are the people this is the slate of candidates that we like and that are aligned with sort of our values.
That'd be a great name for it, actually. Slate, if that weren't already a publication. That'd be a great name.
Do you think they'd sell it to us?
I don't think so. Unless they're ready to get out of the game. They're ready to get out of the mafia. So yeah. So basically the idea, so anyways, the way I vote, I don't know if this is the right way to vote, but when I try to research a single politician or like a single race, it's really hard to tell like what politicians really stand for, because they always present themselves as if they're like the next coming of Jesus Christ, right? Like on their website, they're the best thing since sliced bread. And then if you go looking for like people who don't like them, then they're like hell on wheels. They're the worst thing on the planet, right? Because it's so partisan.
Well, and their advisors are constantly telling them, appeal to as many people as you can, appeal to everybody in whatever way you can. So you hear them go, hey, I'm really into your thing, I really like you. But then you see them turn and go, hey, I'm really into your thing, I really like you, to the next person. And you're like, I don't know, I can't trust that. Maybe it doesn't mean anything.
Right. So what I do is I just go to organizations that I trust. And then I look at their political endorsements. And then I just look, and I might have different, it's not just, that doesn't make it easy necessarily, because I might ascribe to one group and another group, and then those groups are at odds. So sometimes I have to kind of decide, but it boils things down way to, it like simplifies things enormously. It's like, okay, I'm going to pick either this person or this person for this issue, for this level of government. I'm going to go with this one or whatever.
And then even if the two groups are at odds, you're not presented with merely two names that are different. You're presented with arguments probably from each side being like, we support this candidate because X, Y, and Z. And the other side's like, we support this candidate because 1, 2, and 3. And you decide which of the things are more important to you or prioritize that way.
Right. Yeah. I've been criticized, and I welcome the criticism because I have a very nuanced political perspective. But one part of it that kind of people get kind of confused about is I can be like one way on the national level and then like a totally different way on the local level. And people are like, you're inconsistent. You're being so inconsistent because on the, you should be like consistent across. And I say, no, it's different levels of government. Like at the national level, I want these certain things to happen, but at the local level, I want things to be this way. It's different. And people are like, it's inconsistent, but I don't think it's inconsistent. Anyway, so I might find something and say on the national level, I'm going to follow, these various organizations, but on the local level, I'm going to actually follow completely different organizations. I don't want to totally betray my political leanings here, but I think people listening to the podcast probably already know that I have, I guess I could just be vulnerable and share some things, but One example is like Medicare for all. I think is a really good idea.
Yeah.
On a federal level, I'm like, great, Medicare for all, Bernie Sanders, and people are like, oh, you must just be like a dyed in the cloth, socialist or something. So then when locally, I'm like, we need to have like fewer regulations on businesses, have there be more free market, ability to use land, less regulation overall. People are like, oh, you're a libertarian, you must be a horrible like right wing libertarian person, and then they're so confused that I'm actually like holding both of those, at two different levels of government. So like I might look at like a Bernie thing to figure out what I wanted to do nationally, but locally I might look at something that's like totally like even right, almost San Francisco right wing, which is like the rest of the country's left wing.
That's right.
But it's like, so anyways, so that's kind of how I vote, and I think it's a good way to vote. Like if I'm going to teach a young person how to vote, that's what I'll say. I'll say, what organizations do you care about? Go look at what their recommendations are. So when you go look at these recommendations on their websites, they are hard coded into the HTML, directly into the HTML. This is not data that is like searchable. Mm-hmm. This is not like you can't discover this data anywhere.
It's just written on their like website content.
Yeah, they might have chiseled it in stone and put it on the center square. Like this is not like liberated data that like can be searched or a record is kept anywhere. Right. As far as I can tell, Ballotopedia, various like Google Civics, they don't keep track of this. They don't. They just keep track of like various elections and various politicians and their sort of whatever records. They don't keep track of who a sort of next level meta layer of who endorsed who. Uh-huh. Newspapers always do endorsements too. Yeah. So you're I really like to read the Wall Street Journal. Great. They do endorsements for all the major things, right? So you can say, I'm going to vote just like the Wall Street Journal says.
So with this website, would you create essentially a system where when a politician receives an endorsement or when an organization endorses a politician, they like ping the website and let you know, hey, this has happened, and it starts to build that. It starts to build that, that resource that people can check and go like, oh, and the more, it's one of those things where the more people that participate, the faster it grows.
Effect. Yeah.
And then it reaches critical mass, and then it's just like, oh, everyone needs to use it like LinkedIn or something.
Right. Yeah. My vision for it would be, I mean, there's kind of like various ways that it could be implemented, but, honestly, all these organizations make this like hard-coded HTML like endorsements page. I think if you just made a website that just gave them a little snippet of code that they could drop in and then it would just generate it in their website, that would be a big service. And then people would be willing to put all their endorsements into this platform because it would give them this like automatic
this widget that they
thing.
Could,
yeah. And then every year they wouldn't even have to update the widget. They'd just update their endorsements in the platform, and then it would blow into their widget, so they would go onto their website, and anyone who is surfing this website would be able to find their endorsements. So actually give their endorsements a broader reach. So I think that would be the first thing I would do, is try to get organizations to put their endorsements into it, or even just get a bunch of interns and have the interns just put it in, because the people want their endorsements to be well known.
Yeah.
So they won't be mad at you if you transport
if you're publicizing, that's the purpose.
That's
of
the whole point.
Both the organization and the endorsement is publicizing both sides.
So that's I think the first way to start it is you just import as many of them as you can.
I think that's good. And then because you're right, if it's only displayed on a politician's website, you're really limiting your reach to people who are probably already aware of that person, already searching for that person. You're not getting that organic like outreach that you're hoping to get from an endorsement
by creating endorsements. Right. I mean, except for newspapers who literally put on their front page, we endorse so and so, then of course they get this huge reach. But these organizations, they want their ballot endorsements to get as far as they can. So that's in their interest. I think this could go a lot further though. I honestly think that this could be like a politics-based Twitter competitor. So you could like follow people, and then you could also like endorse someone, right? And then you could be like following all your people all about politics, and then you could like see someone could endorse someone, and then you would see it as a thing, like, oh, Stephen Colbert just endorsed them, and you'd be like, oh, who are they? And you click on them and you'd see all about them, and then you could endorse them too. And now like you could really see who is endorsing who.
Yeah. So I mean, in an outdated example, instead of just the politician and the organizations, you have now a third party, kind of like how Yelp had these like super Yelpers who were like these influential people. I don't think this exists anymore, but influential people where they're like if they review your website or if they review your restaurant or give you like high marks, then it's an increase in visibility and your business goes up, and that can make you or whatever.
Yeah, so you could have these like these super endorsers. You can have these
super endorsers who people are just like, which is, I trust you, I trust your viewpoint and your way of going.
And that's kind of what happens like with someone who's like a politics Twitter person who has 100,000 followers on Twitter. They kind of are that, but then now that person's endorsement is, I don't know it. It's like silent, even though they probably have a really clear endorsement for all kinds of things. Well, I don't know what it is because Twitter doesn't surface that. No one surfaces that.
Tweets are super. I mean, they're like even more temporary than newspapers where, it's if you see it, you see it. And if you don't, you're probably not going to see it. And so having a home base for that sort of thing lets you not miss it as much if you just don't happen to be looking at your feed when that person does.
And the site could also just generate your ballot. So you could just put in like your home address and it could literally just generate your ballot, and it could even show by who you follow. It would just show all the endorsements, boom, in one view. And you could go on your phone, and as you're voting, you could just pull that up and look at it. And I would immediately know who to vote for just by if I could look at that. I could vote in probably 10 minutes, which I don't know if everyone else votes the same, but in California, voting is freaking obnoxiously difficult. Not to get your ballot there, it's fine. It's just mail in or you go to the place. But the actual ballot is so convoluted.
It's a booklet. And I mean, I think this is not just California. I think this is like a lot of places they have fights over the specific wording of different initiatives and different things on the ballot, how it's worded. And sometimes convoluted is what they want, which is
so you don't know what to do.
Yeah.
There's like 30 people running for school board. That takes up like 2 pages of the ballot. Yeah. How the hell am I supposed to know who to vote for? But if I had a thing that if I could follow all my favorite organizations, maybe a few, I don't know, celebrities or something too, if I thought, or maybe a few wonks, that I like, and then I could pull up my thing on my phone or on my computer. I could just scroll down and I could say, oh yeah, left on, this one, right on this one, left on this one, right on this one. Mm-hmm. I could do judges, I could do sheriffs, I could do school boards, I could do all these down ballot races that I don't really know, but my endorsers know, because they make it their business to really represent a certain set of values, and I trust that because I follow them or I know that they stand for those values. If you see the Sierra Club's recommendations, you know that those are like environmentally supporting politicians, right? Whereas if you follow the NRA, God forbid, you'll know who like they recommend.
They definitely,
and who actually does this better than anyone else today? The NRA.
Yeah, I was going to say
NRA's website
endorses people all over,
and their endorsement tracker is awesome. I was researching for this, and I went and was like, "Who does this really well?" NRA's endorsement tracker is excellent. They do it really, really well.
Yeah, that's what they shifted into like a lobby and like legislation sort of game.
So if you just take their thing, which is to know who endorses who for what, for anything environmental, whatever. But okay, so here's the exciting thing about this idea. I've been pitching a bunch of different companies this idea for over 2 months.
Okay. This is a real life thing.
Real life.
Uh-huh.
And guess what? I got a taker.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Google.
I've heard of that.
Okay, no, it has 3 O's, so it's actually not the big multi.
Oh, Google.
Yeah, Google. Yeah.
Oh, Google.com.
Yeah, they're in Sasquatch, Canada. It's Saskatchewan. They're not Sasquatch.
Their entire business is built on typos.
So I was trying to contact Google Civics, and I LinkedIn connected with like 100 people on the Google Civics team, because Google has this like civics branch. Mm-hmm. Which is cool. And they do basically the same thing as like Ballotopedia. You can like find your ballot, find different races, candidates, information about each one. But that's it. And it just stops. And it's kind of it's just like a corner of the Google universe. It's not super like fancy.
Yeah.
I was hoping this could kind of put it on the map, because I think this is a little more useful and engaging. But anyways, I contacted like 100 people on LinkedIn, and a few of them connected with me. I messaged them. No response. Like not even like a tip of the hat, just like complete ignoring me. I sent them a whole pitch, or the picture, and user everything about it. and a whole product map,
Uh-huh.
and no response, not even like a hello there, not even I'll take a look at this. Okay. So I was like, okay, that's a dead end. These people don't care or something. They just aren't looking at these messages or something. So, I showed them a picture of me in my bunker with my tinfoil hat and everything, and I don't know why they're not taking it seriously. So instead I was like, okay, I got to triangulate. So I found inside of Google, there is an incubator. It's called 120. I don't know why it's called that.
Okay.
But it's the internal Google incubator where new ideas, whatever, they kind of incubate new ideas.
Do you submit stuff from outside, or is this stuff that Google develops?
I think they just grab from anything, inside, outside. They just, whatever they do, but it's an internal thing. So if someone comes up with a good idea, they can like join 120 in Google and like build like a product, and Google, I assume, owns all of it or whatever. And now I did the same thing. I went through 120. I LinkedIn connected with probably 30 or 40 people there. A few people, said yes. They connected with me. I sent them this same exact just pitch, like, hey, I've got a cool idea.
Right.
I think Google might be a good place to house it. I think Twitter would be a good place too. So would Ballotopedia. So would any of these like already existing
established
things.
Yeah.
But Twitter or Google, I think Twitter especially, it'd be great if Twitter could let people endorse people instead of just follow around political times. Because Twitter's already pretty much just about politics. So might as well just really embrace it. Anyways, so these 120 people, they were more warm and friendly and helpful. They were like, oh, this is cool. Like, oh, what do you think? Like, what should we do with this? Like, where would it go? Because that's, I think, their whole job is like actually doing innovation. And one of those people was like, I will just email this to the head of the civics team. And they did.
Okay.
They emailed it to the head of the civics team. And this head of the civics team emailed back and said, this looks really great. We're going to put it in our lineup where we then as a team discuss and decide what goes in our backlog, like what actually becomes a priority to build.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's as far as it is. We'll give an update maybe if
you emailed back. You're like, it's called the Adam Braus. It's called the it's called the Adam Braus voting the voting ingenious invention. Just make sure that's part of it.
Yeah, I have to make it all about me. I mean, at the end of the day, it's got to all be about me. It can't be about democracy.
90% has to be a picture of my face, and then you can like show somebody some information like at the bottom or something.
Yeah. And then there should be music that plays my favorite song, and on my birthday, confetti should rain from the top of the website over my face. No, it's not. I was really emphasizing to them again and again because I didn't want to seem like some tinfoil hat guy, and I also didn't want to seem like some, I don't know, Bitcoin scammer or something. I kept saying, I don't care. Like, I don't want anything to do with this. I don't want a job at Google. I mean, if they were like, come and help us build it, I'd be like, okay, that sounds cool. That'd be worth spending a few years trying to help build.
Sure.
But if they don't, I don't care. It's fine. They don't ever have to tell anyone that I told them about this idea. Doesn't matter. I just want it for democracy.
You just want it to exist.
I want it for it to exist. And you know where I got the idea? Young people voting. Young people don't vote. 18 to 35-year-old people like barely vote.
Oh, yeah.
Barely.
And
it turns out if you do the math, young people are like wildly, generally left wing. Like even the most like conservative, right? There's young people who are conservative, sure. But most of them are not. Most of them are more progressive.
Yes, right.
And even if it's just kind of centrist progressive, they're still more left wing. And so they did the math and they found out that if even 5% more people from 18 to 35 voted, just 5% randomly, if 5% more people voted, almost every election in the national election would go towards the Democrats.
Wow.
Because all these elections are like 51-49, right? So 5%, 1/20th of 18 to 35-year-olds voted more in addition than who vote now. It would just be like overnight. The entire political landscape would just be like Europe. It would be like leftist. And when I heard that and I saw the numbers, I was like, what is stopping these young people from voting? What is stopping them?
Well, I see where you're going with this. We need to figure out who would be an endorsement that they would care about enough to get politically active.
Yeah.
And start cultivating those people to get their endorsement, like, the
excitement,
the power of that, power of young crew.
You see that coming through, I mean, I don't know, like, they see famous people doing political stuff, Susan Sarandon or Mark Ruffalo or whatever. and other right wing, left wing people all do stuff. The problem is it's just one in one ear out the other. It's like, oh yeah, they support this thing, okay. But then if it's like, ooh, I'm gonna go vote, people are like, ooh, just like I feel. I'm old, well, 37. I'm outside of that generation now, outside of that time, that age block now. But I think about voting, I'm like, oh, I got to deal with this huge freaking thing. I got to Google all these endorsement websites. oh my God, it's horrible.
It's a big task.
It's a big task.
If you're already loaded full up, then it's easy to go like, am I going to see anything negative from not doing this once right now immediately? Like down the chain, not voting as a course is not going to help out things. But right now, if I do it today, does that affect me? Oh no. Okay. Well, then it's getting pushed.
But if I could go on a website and I could say, look, there's really only like 5 organizations that I follow for endorsements, right? If I could just say, search, follow, 5 and 5, and then be like, generate my ballot, that would save me easily an hour of work just to vote once. It would then be in place forever. I could just log in. And those things aren't going to change that much.
You don't even have to know those organizations. You can this week I logged into Reddit for the first time to make an account for something. And so like it starts you off. It goes, all right, pick 3 things you're interested in. And then it gives you suggestions and you're free to go, I'm going to do my own thing here, Reddit. Yeah. But you're also free to kind of like use their on-ramp and go, all right, I'll jump into this community, and this community. And now we're off and rolling. And you could do that with someone who doesn't have their organizations already picked out, but they can come and go, what's important to me is climate, education, healthcare, or what's important to me is, like the economy and I can't
guns.
No, but if
trying to do a right wing side too,
the economy and like military and like different safety things, or in industry and infrastructure, or whatever is important to you, you can select that from a list. And then it's like, oh, these might be the type of organizations. It's a shortcut so that you don't have to go through every organization, because that defeats the purpose of having that shortcut be the organizations telling you how to look at the candidates.
You could even say, well, I know that I endorse these 5 politicians, and now you could reverse engineer what organizations have endorsed all of those and say, well, these are the ones you should follow. And then you go, oh yeah, cool. I didn't realize that, I don't know, maybe you're some left-wing animal rights person, but you didn't realize. And it's like, oh, PETA actually endorses all of those. You should just follow who PETA endorses. And then you're like, oh, okay. And now that opens up the whole down ballot, right? Because that's also the interesting thing about voting is people know who to vote for president. They know who to vote for Congress and Senate, maybe. And maybe they know who they vote for their mayor, maybe their governor. But then there's all the other down ballot voting that they just, I'll be honest, I have a politics degree. My family talked about politics my whole life. I listen to political news every day. I don't know who to vote for. I don't know who to vote for school board. I don't know who to vote for judges. I don't know who to vote.
It's a lot.
Who can possibly know? Yeah. You can't. But if you know, hey, I really trust the pissed off voter guy. I don't really like these guys, but there is this thing called the League of Pissed Off Voters voting guide here in San Francisco and the whole Bay Area. Maybe it's in California. Anyways, they have this great I won't say it's great because again, I don't actually like their politics, but they hang it on everybody's door. They have a huge reach with their voter guide. And I honestly think getting in that voter guide is actually super valuable for politicians just because of the reach of the voter guide, right? Where it's an endorsement.
Well, what's the thing that I see most about politicians right now is probably the least informational about them. And it's signs on the side of the road and in people's yards that literally just say someone's name and maybe a political party. But it is, they understand that name recognition is the top of the pyramid, and like knowing the name, that's more important even than knowing like all the details about what you stand for. Is just like, we want that name in people's heads. And people fight just to have their name be recognized so that people scanning the ballot go, oh, yeah, I know that name. Pick that name because I've seen it. Right. Other people have put signs in. That's good enough for me.
But imagine if for people like me, I'm very politically engaged, very politically active. I have the extra time to invest to like know about whatever politicians. Even for me, this site would be super worthwhile, super valuable. Not to mention to someone who's like 18 years old, They're just starting to get involved in politics, and they're voting for the first time, and they're like, I wonder who to vote for. For them, it would be like, it would move them light years ahead of where I was when I was 18, or anyone is when they're 18, because it would say, you actually know who to vote for school board based on your values.
Yeah, yeah.
What 18-year-old knows that? They don't. But this would actually enable them very easily to do it.
Now, we are coming up with this idea on the fly, and I'm thinking of a new way that could get young people into it. And it's, what if you can convince someone that, like, let's say you have young love, people are into each other, and maybe somebody betrays somebody and it goes sour. And so now you have an X situation. Well, you can now look and see what they're going to vote for and tell them that you're going to vote for every opposite thing. You're going to nullify their vote.
Nullify.
You're going to be like, you know what? I'm not politically active, but I will nullify your vote each and every, just down the line.
Kamikaze. So you can go, so you could look at like someone you hated on the political spectrum.
You're nullifying your enemies.
Oh, that's awesome. And then through this website, I hope you could then put that on, you could mark that. You could be like,
you have to let them know.
Yeah. You have like, you're like, I'm an endorser. I've put out my endorsements. I have 10,000 followers, but I have 50,000 nullifiers. So actually I'm negative 40,000 influence.
These people aren't voting for something. They are only going out to cancel your vote.
Yeah. With the internet, that would definitely become a thing.
I mean, it's a more enticing for a certain sector of trolls and people that they're like, what's that now? I can be in, I'm not into making a vote, but erasing a vote. Now we are talking.
Oh my God. The internet. But it's weird though, because this is like, it's easy to think that we're like at the end of history. It's easy to think that everything's been invented, but man, every time I look, if I go and vote right now, I go on these endorsement pages, I go to whatever organization and I search for their endorsement page, which is usually pretty easy to find because they want people to look at it. Mm-hmm. And it's just locked in HTML, it's right on the site, and there's no way to find that anywhere else on the internet except for this one
just a
page,
little pocket of the. Okay,
and I'm like, there's the solution here. We need to get this. It's called data liberation. That's what it's called. We need to liberate this data from just being static on these pages and put them into a searchable database that's related to the election, that's related to where I am physically, my address, that's related to my, related to me personally, like a social thing where I can log in and now it's my account and I can have the things that I follow. And, and then every user has their own choice. You can show up and you can not post any endorsements, but you can just be looking at things. Or, you start to get more of a political values, more political engagement, more of a kind of an opinion. You can start putting out your endorsements. Great.
Yeah, there will be people there looking for endorsements to follow and be like, right, you know what? I don't have time for this. I want to kind of stand on the shoulders of other people who are thinking this through all the time. And then maybe you become, or maybe you're one of the people who are sitting there thinking it through all the time. And you're like, oh, I have this information. And if you're interested, I will gladly give it
And
up.
You click on any politician's face and it not just brings up their views, which again is like, what are their views? I don't know. They always present themselves so well, or they try to present themselves like in some positive way. If you click on a politician's face, below it is literally a list of all the organizations and people that endorse them. Mm-hmm. And maybe it could be ranked, the number of endorsement, the endorsers could be ranked by how many people follow those endorsers.
Well,
so it's like the biggest endorsers are on the top. You scroll down, you get down to like your grandma who also happens to endorse, you know.
Well, as soon as you start like organizing the data, you can
sort
and filter
slice,
in any different way,
and now
that's useful for whatever the person needs,
That's so much information that's just there implicitly that no one can access.
Yeah.
It's all there though. We would not do anything except for get it into one place, which is totally something that Twitter or Google or even like a Ballotopedia or like a some kind of political whatever data thing could do. They could do this in a minute. They could do it so fast. I think you can give it volunteers. I think volunteers would load in all the data just by surfing around all these websites. Mm-hmm. Just because it's cool to like have that data become available.
Well, and once that ball gets started rolling, then people from each political place are going, that's part of the thing. Just like posting on Twitter or posting their stuff in different social medias. It's like, all right,
that
also
becomes a thing.
Also update your endorsements on such and such.com.
Right. Please endorse us on this thing. Like, and also you could start courting high endorsers. So you could find someone who is on this platform, had, 1 million followers. Politicians could literally like call that person up and be like, can I take you out to dinner? Like, can I tell you more about it? It turns like lobbying around. It's like the politicians start lobbying the people instead of like the corporations lobbying. You know what I mean? Because these would be citizens. They would just be citizens with values that literally represented people, 1 million people who followed you on this. That means that you're actually their representative. I mean, and if you're not running for anything, then then
the endorser is like boo oil companies, and then all of a sudden it's like, and I got taken to dinner by the oil executive, and now guess what? I have decided. No.
Yeah, there would become another layer. There would be a kind of another layer.
But it's transparent, and people can see that.
They could
okay, you're a phony. Goodbye.
Right, and they can immediately leave. Right.
I hope you enjoyed that one check.
Yeah, it just creates a whole nother layer of political visibility and political accountability. Yeah. Skin in the game. Is it skin in the game? I'm just throwing your favorite phrase.
I love that phrase. I think so. I think
skin in the game.
I think it keeps, because sometimes those endorsements feel like they're, like you said, hidden away or kind of private, like they're on this spot in the website because they're like, well, it's there if you went looking for it. But this would put it out there, and you have fewer ways to kind of less wiggle room when your stances and stuff are more prominent.
No wiggle room.
I like that. Maybe politicians don't, because
they like wiggle room.
They like to be able to appeal to everybody, but I like knowing where people stand. That's me. I like it.
So this one's a big one. I hope Google bites. If they don't do it this year, next year, I mean, it's an evergreen idea. It's just there waiting to be done. So if Google doesn't do it this year, I'm going to keep promoting. If anyone listening to this wants to talk about it,
we'll march in and be like, do you want us to go to Google? Because we're going
to go to Google.
We will.
They're up in Saskatchewan. They're just waiting for us. They're
you don't think we have their phone numbers?
They're interested. Twitter could do it. Twitter, I think, would be the best. I mean, Elon Musk's going to do it. He's not going to do anything with it, though. But
he seems like a busy person and more interested in
also,
space
I don't
traveling.
think he's pro-democracy. I don't think he likes democracy. So I don't think he doesn't seem to be pro-democracy. He's sort of pro-plutocracy, or sort of technological. He's kind of a technocratic elite. He thinks like people with the right ideas should have the power, and everyone else should just
and he just happens to be
buy their products
in that group.
Yeah, and he just happens to be in that group. But if you really believe in democracy, man, political endorsements are really a way for people to kind of make voting easier, which means more people are going to do it because it's easier. And it's going to make voting more loyal to people's values because they're actually going to know who to vote for. I don't know if in many cases this would change people's vote for like things they already knew they were going to vote for. Like if they know I'm going to vote for Biden for president, this probably wouldn't change that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a thing meant to like alter opinions.
No.
It's just an informational tool for what you already value.
To know quickly,
to be able to parse out,
and then go down ballot, all the way down to the school board. I treat them like they're the lowest of the low. The garbage, the worst thing, the school board. No, it's just that there's so many of them. That's why it's overwhelming. School board voting is overwhelming.
Comptroller, that's a thing.
The comptroller.
Is
that? Do we have exchequers, or is that just the British
exchequers?
I think it's just comptrollers.
I don't know what exchequers are.
It's a British thing. It's like a British comptroller.
Oh,
it's like a British bank. I think it's the head of the British.
It sounds
central bank is the exchequer.
Exchequer.
We just have bag checkers. There's in every grocery store.
Hey mate, I'm an exchequer.
Oi mate.
Oh no! Mate. Oh, we've hit accents. I think that means.
Okay, should we wrap this up?
I think so. This is great.
Are we going to revolutionize voting?
We'll have to see. We'll get back that email from Google.
I'll just want to sign off saying one thing, which is that people think America is like 50-50. And if no matter which side you're on, you think 50-50. Your side has good opinions, the other side doesn't. The reality is, it's not 50-50. America is a place where 75% of people believe exactly the same damn thing. It's just the media and the way they just present it like there's a minority, like that there's a 50-50. It's not 50-50.
Yeah.
And so if we commit to democracy, if we commit to counting every vote, helping everyone vote, we will have the country that actually is the country people believe in.
Yeah, well, that's the idea. I mean, you want to increase voter participation because that just not only does it fix it in the way that it's like, oh, this makes things go the way I want them to, but it's like that fixes it because it makes things start to reflect the actual
country,
the actual makeup of the country.
God forbid we actually represented the values of this majority of the country.
Right.
Yeah.
Which seems like a good thing for everyone's general
but I think
happiness.
people need to have faith that it's not that 50% of the country is like bad. Yeah. It's that like 15% are bad and they're very, very noisy.
Yep.
And then they go out and vote in droves. They
don't
know who to vote for.
Yeah.
They know who to vote for. Somehow they know. I think because their endorsements are very clear from kind of the marching orders. But then everybody else just doesn't really know who to vote for.
Well, and also it's a culture. If your culture forever has been, we vote in every election, we vote for all the things, then it just becomes a part of it. You know, it's not a task every time to be like, oh, what am I going to do? It's like, I'm going to look at my thing. I'm going to figure out who to vote for based on this, and then I'll vote.
Right. So yeah, I think we should be really optimistic, and we should be pro democracy. Let's count all the votes. Let's get everybody to vote. Let's do everything we can to make voting the thing. And I think this will help. I think this will make it, especially so that young people vote, and even for people who aren't young and who have been voting forever, this will make their lives just easier.
It sounds like an amazing resource. I mean, it is kind of crazy that it doesn't already exist.
Yeah,
like
I know,
saying, you know, because
it's just there.
You say it, and I go, well, yeah, that should exist. Like IMDb,
of course.
how
IMDb.
that exists.
This is just IMDb. This is just IMDb for political endorsements.
I don't have
all
to.
It is.
If I'm looking up what movies an actor is in, I don't have to go to each individial movie's website, you know,
to find which actor. That's such a good way of thinking about it. Yeah, we should put that at the beginning. It really is just IMDb.
Right, welcome everybody.
Hey everyone, welcome.
This is Jonah Burns. This is Scot. No.
Well, thanks everybody for tuning in and listening. We love you all.
Yeah, this is a fun one. Thank you, Adam. It was good.
Take care.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey there, thanks for listening to that episode of Solutions from the Multiverse.
Yeah, we're back with a little after roll. Hello.
Hey, after roll. Roll that after roll. So basically we want you to subscribe.
Yeah.
And rate and review and tell someone, like take your favorite solution and send it to someone who you think would like blow their mind to hear it.
Yeah, we love making the show. We're proud of it. And we're excited. We want other people to show. We know that the main way people find podcasts is word of mouth. I know that's true for me. I listen to my friends who also listen to podcasts tell me about ones, and I go, okay, I'm cluing into that. So we want to be part of that chain.
So thanks for being a part of Solutions.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again real soon.
Bye.
Bye.